Hello and welcome to this THWACK Livecast, where we're talking about taking Perfstack correlation and turning it into better collaboration. I'm Kevin Sparenberg, Technical Content Manager for THWACK, and with me,
I'm Matt Quick, one of the Senior Sales Engineers here at SolarWinds.
And we both have spent way too much time inside the Orion console trying to get data out. Is that a safe assumption?
Oh, yeah. A few years.
Yeah, at least. Okay, so today we're really going to concentrate all on Perfstack. And if you're not familiar with it, you should be, because it's just an amazing tool. What it really is, well, I want to give a scenario first.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I've run into this in a previous life. So we're using monitor system A, we've got monitoring system B, we've got monitoring system C, and they all report, timestamp, KPI, metrics. Pretty standard, not unusual. And then something happens somewhere in
the mix of everything.
Yeah, somewhere in that stack of things that those things are monitoring.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, no problem. And then we're saying, but it looks like this might not be in solution B. It might be in solution C. So then you're like, okay, so dump the export here and then put that all thing into Excel. And there are people that are much better with Excel than I am with cross tabs and stuff.
Right.
But you still have to kind of line up those timestamps.
Right.
And then get them in the order, know what system it came from, know what it was watching, because is it server, node, interface, the laundry list.
Right. And there's been a number of times where I've seen it as like, oh, I've got something wrong with my virtualization stuff, and I want to cross that back with my storage array. Okay, bring up a window here, bring up a window here. It's like, oh, they don't match. Well, yeah, because that one's in 2 hours, that one's in 24. Like, so many times I've seen that. And one of the cool parts is with SolarWinds products, you can do that sort of correlation, title, but we can do it across those multiple stacks and be able to just line up those timelines without having to do multiple tabs or multiple windows.
Yeah, even in the early days when I started working with the Orion platform, if I had to compare like two interfaces, interface detail page over here, interface detail page on that screen, and you just stare and compare and you look for some type of variance.
Yep.
But that took so long to actively troubleshoot something.
Right.
And one of the other problems when you deal with kind of these multiple data sources is the data is not normalized.
Right.
So like I remember, I'm pretty sure, I may be speaking out of class, like the VMware, their hypervisor would give you stuff, and I think it was in K per second. But of course, my network gear is giving me everything in bits per second. And your storage array, since they're much faster, generally they're giving you stuff in like megs per second. And then you have to, there's mathing. And then you get the nightmare of, well, is it capital K or lowercase k? So are we talking 1,000 or 1,024?
Right.
Because when you get up to the tera level, that can compound.
Or even so, I would have customers call me all the time, and they'd be like, I've got this massive spike on this one interface, but on the other one it's supposed to be connected to, it's flatline. I'm like, well, yeah, bits per second, gigabytes per second. Why do you even put it in gig? So that sort of normalization really needs to happen. Being able to cross-correlate that is huge, right? And one of the great things about Perfstack or performance analysis is people will come to me and they'll say, oh, well, we're going to reduce finger pointing, or removes all that. I'm like, no. It gives you accurate finger pointing, which is great.
Well, the other thing is mean time to innocence. So you can clearly state it's not a problem with the network, and then hand it off to somebody else, because it's a trope, but we always say it's not the network. And then the applications team says it's not the server, and then
and this
lather, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, this leads to what I like to call the war room scenario. It's like, all right, get everybody in a room together, distant, put it on a projector, and let's put these items together and figure out who's the culprit in the room, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it was Colonel Mustard with a knife. He's right over there.
Yeah. But in the ballroom? No, in the video studio, because he's right here. All right, sorry. And tangent number one. So when you're actually in the platform, you probably have it. It's been released. It's a couple of years now.
Oh, yeah. That's actually one of the great parts about this, is that this is not necessarily a feature of one product. It's actually what we like to call a core feature. So as long as you have one of our products installed, you have this capability.
Yeah.
Now, the key thing to it, though, is that it's not going to get every performance metric. You have to be monitoring it first. Like that is the thing. So if you only have NPM and you're expecting like CPU of a certain process from SQL, No, you got to have SAM2. You need to be monitoring that. That is a prerequisite. But as long as you have the information, then we can work with it.
Basically, as long as the data is in the database somewhere,
Right.
I don't need to know the table, I don't need to know the query, I don't need to know the views, I don't need to know the SWCL. I can just drag and drop it.
Right, exactly.
So because it's a core feature and not specific to an individual product, it's under home and under performance analysis. And this is where we actually see the Perfstack name.
Yep.
And this is not what it normally does.
No, it doesn't. So we have done some demo magics. This is our online demo site if you ever want to check it out. But our demo magic actually puts us on the starter project by default. So now if you come from My Dashboards and Home and Performance Analysis, you'll have a blank slate, which you can always do by just going, to new there up in the corner. Also, if you don't see that link, you've probably been a customer with us for quite some time.
Oh yeah, and modified one of the menus.
Yep. So you can go through and modify the menu and add that into there. If you're not sure how, we do have a support team that can help you out with that. So not a problem there. But yeah, once you come to this page, this is what you're presented with. Nice, empty cleanness. Right? Yeah,
but this is not what we want to build. Because the whole idea is about getting away from, I'm going to still refer to them as silos. I can't think of a better way to do it. The network team, the server team, the apps team, the web team, whatever. You've got kind of your specialization, and you need to be able to share this information with them. And the best way to do that in a live troubleshooting scenario, at least in my opinion, is to start building what you think is important and then ship that off to somebody else. And be like, now you can add your stuff to this and make sure it's is or is not a problem.
Right.
And realistically, we've got almost everything in this entity list.
Yep.
So if I just pick, I don't know, and I don't know if this is a good demo data, so this is where we hope and pray. So I just added an entity, and the entities, I breezed through it real fast, but you can see nodes as default, but there's so many other things you can select in here. I specifically like stuff like the SIP trunks. I think that's really nice to kind of put on a summary page somewhere. And then here it is, and you're like, okay, that's great. So what do I get with that? Well, I get CPU memory. I mean, this is kind of cookie cutter. I mean, config changes is a little extra, of course.
Yeah, that's coming from our SCM module. But in the end, what you've added here by our naming convention, if we haven't figured out HYV, it's a Hyper-V machine. So, and what we've added here is the node itself. So we're actually looking at the Hyper-V host, right? So, and what you're probably wanting is what's underneath that host, right?
Yeah.
So, and you can do that from here too. So
you can do it manually if you know.
Yeah, if you know your environment. So you can always go to add entities. You can search for the VMs if they're added as nodes. If they're not added as nodes, change that node drop down to virtual machines. So that'll
still be there. Yep.
But there's an easy button.
There's a much easier way. And this is the easy button. Add all others. Now, in the demo, this might take a hot second because this has a lot of VMs. But it's this relational thing between each of these. And then after we get the VM, or let's say it actually comes in as a node. Okay, so here we go. 6 total nodes came in, including web core. Well, I can get the related ones for that. And that doesn't flush the previous list.
Right.
That's actually really important. It just adds new elements to that. So you can say, oh, maybe I need an application that is, I don't know, here's AD Connect. And then these are the things. And you're like, okay, great. But where are my charts?
Right. And those charts are actually going to be there in that next column. So once you select your object, it's going to show you what's available to monitor from that object. So back on the node here, CPU memory, and then average CPU load, peak, minimum, also memories on here as well.
These are the two I like personally because they're both percentages and they can stack.
Yep, that's actually a cool part too. So you just drag and drop them over to the charts, and then you'll notice as you drag and drop, it actually gives you options of either putting it onto the same chart or drop here to add metric. Now, the cool part is the system will automatically realize like, oh, hey, these are percentages. So when you drop and add metric, it'll put them side by side right where they should be. And you'll notice the left column is still percentages. If it's not the same object, so maybe it is megabytes per second, still drop, but it'll show you on the right side, hey, this is megabytes per second, or whatever the other metric is. Now, if they're two completely unrelated things, it's going to make a new chart regardless.
Yeah.
So that can happen too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the cool part is, so now you've also added alerts on here as well. And the cool part is that it's showing you the alerts that have gone off for this particular object. So it's still a Hyper-V machine during your time frame, which is in the last 12 hours.
Which is, of course, customizable. And I'm a big fan of always last X, last 10 minutes, last 2 hours, last whatever. One thing we don't talk about a lot, because I think it's only used in true active troubleshooting scenarios, is the rocket ship.
Yep.
So the rocket ship, if you see a metric here that actually has the rocket ship, that means real-time polling is possible. Which is, I don't remember the metric, but it's like we make a call, we get the number back, we make another call, we get the number back. It's
Yeah, it defaults to every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And you can change that. You can make it every 10 seconds if you want. Now, we don't do this all the time because we don't want to overwhelm your devices, because that can happen. But if you are doing, as you said, that active troubleshooting scenario, someone say, hey, something's down, something's wrong, slows the new down. You can actually go into here, add these metrics, hit start real-time polling, and see what's going on right now.
Yeah. And I don't want to hit it here because our demo can be a little goofy at times. You know what? I'll hit it and we'll see what it comes back with. But this is good because this, in my mind, says I am the owner of the hypervisors. I'm in charge of all of my, it's coming in clean now, good. So I'm in charge of all the virtual infrastructure. So the hosts, but maybe I don't own the machines. Maybe I own the config of the virtual machines, but not the OS on it, and I don't care about the applications because that's another team. What you can do here is you can either export this out, share it, or realistically, and I got to break out of full screen mode. If you see, this is an incredibly long, ugly URL, but you can just send this to somebody else. And for the sake of demo, I will do this. Pop up new browser. And of course, log in.
Yep, and you'll notice that is a key thing too. Whoever you do send it to, they need to be able to log in as well.
Yeah.
So, but once that's done, you're right. There it is. Everything we had just set up with CPU and memory and the alerts is still on here as well. So, and you don't have to save these projects. You can just straight up copy paste.
I have done this. I've seen people do this live at like a SWUG, where they'll do this and then they'll just send it like in a Slack or a Teams or something. They'll just send the link there and be like, I did these things. I need you to put your network gear on it. And the nice thing is the time slices all line up all the time.
Yep. Yeah, and that goes back to that normalizing of data that you mentioned earlier, in that, as you can see, the clock is moving as we have this real time. So you can see it's slowly sliding over to the left, because as we go into real time, it actually just pins us back to the last 10 minutes of data. So all that data is going to line up. But then on top of that, there's the normalization of data as well. So as you add those different elements, it's going to be consistent of, is it megabytes per second? Is it, of course, it's going to go to 100%, but, or is it gigahertz? Let's keep that consistent so you see that across the board.
Yeah. And what's nice about this is the hypervisor. And let's say I'm in the state where I don't necessarily care about the virtual machines underneath of them, but I do care about the storage that's connected. So that, in theory, are the LUNs. So here's a LUN. Now I can take this and just drop it right here, and it'll throw in what we take our best guess at are the most important charts for this element.
Exactly.
And this will take a minute because it is several elements that has to get in. But you got your, and these are pretty good. I mean, read, write, and other latency, read, write, and other. This is pretty right there for a storage array, but maybe I don't need queue length. Maybe it doesn't apply to this particular model or those kinds of things. So you can just say, you know what, I'm good. We can just remove that.
Yep. Yeah.
And again, since the time slices line up and everything, you have all of the same detail. So you know at this point in time. This is also really good for that Monday morning kind of war room, what happened over the weekend thing. Just change the time. Just slide it back. And as long as you didn't do like purging, you'll be fine.
And the cool thing is go ahead and change the last 10 minutes there to, I don't know, last hours, 7 days, however long. As you want to get more granular, you can highlight the time slice. And then from there, you can actually zoom in to that time frame. And you'll even see the top changes to that specific time frame that you went to. And now we'll narrow down into it. And if we have more granular data, so if we started like with 7 days or a month, we're going to show the hourly data points. Now, if we go down into something more specific into an hourly, okay, now let's go with the raw data.
Yeah.
So it will automatically do that for you as you step down into a more granular time slice.
Based on the retention settings of your system.
Absolutely, yes. So it does depend on those retention settings.
All right. So that's great. These numbers are easy to read. You hover over it, you get the pretty little changes here. But this is kind of what I like. So when you highlight something that isn't necessarily pure data, like alerts, events, SQL, which we will show, you'll actually get this little thing of it over here in the Data Explorer. So right here, I can see for the 3 months, there's been a server configuration change and it differs, and I can go directly to the detection, to the alert information. Basically, I can just go pretty much everywhere and just look at this. And again, this crosses all the product boundaries. If we're working with NCM, it'll show when config changes took place. If it's SCM, server changes. If it's
DPA,
the actual things that happen.
Yeah, the query
Actually, that's a good
links.
one. I think we have one. So one of the other things is you can go ahead and save these and make them available to other people, and they'll just be here. Which one is that? Do you recall?
I think it's Tailwind Traders.
Probably.
Yeah.
All right. Considering it said SQL in it, but my eyes didn't work. Sorry about that. So here we've got the last 24 hours where we're troubleshooting some type of active timeout problem. So, we've got the status. Obviously, we can see the status. And if we grab these and expand this out, we should see something in the, oh no, sorry, that's status. It's just an up down. But if we grab the alerts, loading, then we should get the alert details. There we go. Well, this actually was a transaction step, so that's kind of cool. But maybe I need something a little more detailed than that. And for me, that's where stuff like this is amazing. So we're highlighting this area. We're not clicking zoom. We're just highlighting it and changing the Data Explorer. And I am not a SQL dev. I don't even play one on TV. I pretend to be a DBA when it helps. But this is the exact SQL. Like this is what actually ran that caused, now there's no spike here, but that's what ran in these. So if we grab one of these, it's a little more obvious. So you can see 56 seconds, 28% of the total. This is what it did for the rewards database. I want to see exactly what it is. There is the exact thing that was run. And I'm just like, okie dokie. Now I can take this, copy, paste, save, whatever, or send the screenshot. Hopefully your DBAs also have access to your Orion platform and just be like, here you go.
And again, this comes from Database Performance Analyzer, which, not only is it, you're going to have metrics in it, but we're showing you the database query. But DPA is actually a separate product from the Orion suite that integrates back in. So we'll still pull that data in.
Yeah.
And that's one of the beauties of it is whenever we say that, this Perfstack piece is a core feature, we mean all products. So yeah, you're exactly right. When you have those server configuration changes, or my favorite is NCM with the real-time change detection.
Yeah.
Because normally NCM's on a schedule, daily, weekly, monthly.
Daily, if you have a choice, daily.
Yeah.
Just don't keep old ones that match and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and you can totally set that in the purge settings. But you can also do that real-time change detection, which keep both of them on.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. But as those real-time change detections happen, you'll see that within Perfstack. And you don't have to wait for that daily one to come back and have to go 24 hours on your time charts. Like, someone changed something tomorrow. No, they changed it at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
And you'll see that with real-time change detection, which is amazing to me.
It's especially really interesting when you see things like people changing CPQoS queues or changing policers. Policers were really popular. I think they're less popular now because you can build stuff better in queues. But stuff like that where someone drops a 0, all of a sudden you're like, why is the network slow? Well, here's a config change, and then all of a sudden you see your interface was trending up, and then all of a sudden it's down like this, and you go to the config change and be like, oh yeah, they put a policer in, but they only set it for 10 meg instead of 100 meg.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yep. So, cool. Now, one of the other things that I do love about Perfstack is that it gives you so many metrics, but at the same time, it gives you so many metrics, right?
Yes.
And they're
we can just keep adding.
Yeah, and you can just keep going with this. I mean, you don't have to clear that chart. And if you hit new, you clear everything, right? And the cool part is there's actually an easy way to go through and actually search and say, like, what is it that I want, right?
Yeah, I'm very big for building summary ones, just using the word average or AVG or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then no matter what I pull in theory, well, this doesn't have any average.
Yeah, it's a query.
Yeah, and this doesn't have any average. So that's a bad example.
Yeah, but virtual machines especially, because that's the cool thing about Virtualization Manager. It's like it pulls your basic CPU, memory, network, disk. It also pulls in the more specific metrics, CPU ready wait times, memory ballooning values, co-stop values on the ESX host, and I could go on. But when you pull in a VM and you look at the VMware metrics, there's like 72 plus.
Yeah, it's insane. Like if you need to know about your ballooning right this second, you can.
Yeah. So the cool thing is yeah, you can pull one of those in, and yeah, you'll want to do the pull related, so you get the VM.
So I get the actual VM specific statistics as opposed to the node based ones.
So and then I don't know, is your cloud VM.
Hey, we got to be fancy. So this may not have the full details, but what's nice about this is, hey, look, there are a bunch of things that the word average matched now. Yay, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you just want to know the disk statistics, well, you just write in disk, and that will actually just float to only the disk metrics.
Yeah, because even for Azure and AWS, we pull a lot of these metrics, and it's all stored in the database, and it's relatively easy to get on the node details page. But let's say this was part of, this is a SharePoint cache server, but let's say it was part of a group of 3. Well, then, in theory, I'm going to 3 node details pages. Or I build an interface like this, and I just say, add those 3 in here, and give me their statistics. And even better, put them into an Orion group and give me the group's availability.
Yep, absolutely.
So there's a million ways to slice and dice this for your scenarios.
Yep. And the even cooler part is going back into saving and loading, right?
Yes.
So let's say you do build those charts that go across 2-3 different things, right? And you go off and save that. Okay, now what, right? I mean, the obvious one is just come back to the screen and hit load. Okay.
Send the link out to all your friends and family. Be like, click here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's 4 clicks. And I'm a fan of 1 click. So, we can do that, right? Yeah. So once you've saved these off and you have the names of these, Perfstacks that you saved off, at that point, it's a widget, right? So yeah, if you go back into home and summary.
Yeah, we've got one there. I think we have one on the network as well.
I think we do already, yes.
Yeah.
So,
and this is a simple one because this is just something we built. These are interfaces and discards, or errors technically, errors and discards for WAN circuits. So is this super interesting? For me, only if it spikes. So I would be really interested here, which looks around, since this is 24 hours, this is about 12 hours ago. That's a big problem. But the great part is you can add these anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've got like a network-focused dashboard or maybe even just a data center dashboard, right? And you want to know the WAN circuit for that particular data center, throw it on there. Yeah. Right. I mean, you can do that all day long.
Yeah, and it's what is it? Customized page.
Yep.
Add widget.
Yep. So it's either perf. If you do a group by and change the type to feature, there you go. And you might have to actually X. There you go.
Yeah.
And there's one for Perfstack in there. I saw it yesterday. It should be in there. Or if nothing else, type the name of the widget. So like Tailwind Traders, you can just start doing tail. So that's the one we picked on earlier. And then that one will show up as well. And we can throw that one in. Of course, there's details.
Yeah. And of course, there's a lot of details. Sorry.
Of course, demo magic.
Demo magic.
We obfuscate that. So, but yeah, once you save that name, you can search on it, you can find it, you can put it on any one of the dashboards. And that could be either the summary dashboards, which is the big recommendation. It could be detailed dashboards. Of course, if it doesn't match that detail, then maybe a little odd.
Yeah.
But you can do that, and that's the important part.
Yeah. And we've done this on a couple node details pages. So if you haven't heavily customized, I think it's node details, or maybe one of the sub.
Vital stats, we started replacing the Perfstack charts, including a real-time chart as well.
So if I just grab something here, what is this? I'm actually looking for a specific one, and they're not grouped here at the same way they are the other place. And whatever, Nexus it is. So on the node details page, this pretty much hasn't changed for most people, but vital stats, we got a lot of feedback that I need real time on pages.
Yep.
And the reason real time doesn't exist on the node details page is, I think, because just so many people hit it, and real time numbering is just incredibly intense on your Orion server, and only happens when the page has focus, I believe is proper. And we want to kind of limit that as much as possible because we don't want to, have your system crash and burn.
Yep. So, but yeah, if you go to the vital stats page, you'll see that chart there in the middle, real-time data. Yep. So you can have that. And if you don't have that, you can add that. So that is if there. It's also on the interface details page too. So you
that's right. Yeah.
Percent utilization for interfaces, you could do it there too. So, so yeah, check that out if you don't have it already. And the other cool part about this too, and I mentioned this at the beginning, there's more than one way to get to Perfstack.
Yeah.
Right. And actually, you could do it from this page if you go back to the summary page. So the other way to get to it, we already had the My Dashboards home performance analysis. The other way is from this no details page. There is a performance analyzer button.
And this is not just for node details. I think this button also exists like on virtualization details. It's basically anywhere where there's a widget with the word management in it, it almost always has this.
It'll be there, it'll be interfaces, it'll be on storage arrays, LUNs, data stores, virtual machines, virtual clusters. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
But the reason why I point this one out is because this one is not demo magic. We came into a brand new analysis project, and you'll notice we already have CPU, percent memory, and average response time for the device we just came from.
And we're also bringing in the interfaces because we enumerated them on the previous page.
Correct, yeah. So we already have each one of the interfaces on there. And there, and again, if you're looking for a particular interface and you're one of the cool people with 200 plus interfaces on this particular device, which, kudos for you for managing that.
Yeah.
But you can hit find entity there at the top and you can just search like, show me all Ethernet 1/ and find all that. And same with the metrics, find everything packet. So yeah, they're full names.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can find all that, search on it easy, and there's all my Ethernet 1s. So really easy to go through and find the particular interface when you have a million objects on there. And the cool part is we did this from a network device. We could do this from a virtual machine.
Or from a server.
Exactly. And the same sort of, find relationships that we did, we'll do that. So on the virtual side, we'll show you if it's a node, the node details, if it has applications on it from SAM, applications. On the flip side, the data store, if it's connected to a LUN and its data and its pool, as well as the storage array, all that will get thrown in there. And last but not least, if you've put WPM relationships in there as well.
Oh yeah.
Those will get thrown in. So when you have a spike in WPM or transaction goes down for whatever reason, you can see everything that was on the back end of what's happening and be able to do that accurate finger pointing and say, oh, it's virtual admin's fault.
Yeah, so what we did many years ago when we built the app stack view, the full environment view, we're basically inheriting that logic and the relationships and saying, okay, this is great, but app stack is really just for kind of statuses. I mean, you get some hover over, but it's really just for statuses. And then you're like, nah, bring that all here. And that's what that performance analysis button does for you. It takes all that back-end logic, so you don't have to remember all those things, especially if these start building. It's just a whole lot easier to run with that. So I know the chat is active. Let's get some questions coming in. We've only had the one so far, so please, please, please give us some more. We forgot about the other dashboards. Sorry. So everyone's familiar with the dashboard. We say dashboards, but they're really pages.
Yes.
The node details view, the summary views, all those. In proper dashboard language, we now have the modern dashboards, which allow you to put many different things in places. So I want to look at modern dashboards, and oh good, they're the only ones. Okay, so someone actually built one already. Cool. So let's take a look at this one. This one is way too good.
Yes.
Like I can build this, but it'll take me a while.
Yeah. My biggest problem with any of these modern dashboards is what do I put on it? Like it's coming up figuring out with what I want to do, how do I want to place it. But the cool part is with any of these modern dashboards, you'll notice top row is those KPI metrics. Those are customizable, but there on that second row, we've got that West Data Center connectivity utilization today. That's Perfstack.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually take those same Perfstack widgets and import them into modern dashboards and have those performance metrics next to all the other status and pie chart ones that you have on this dashboard as well.
And this one is a nice one because it's a very high summary. But if I am, like you said, the virtual admin for the West Data Center, then maybe I've got different ones. My KPI buttons are bigger, the colors are slightly off. But you can still bring all that information into this so that you can build this dashboard for you and for your team. And that goes back to a larger discussion about how to architect dashboards and the fact that you actually have to have conversations before you start building, or you just lose time.
But there and again, as really any admin, I know we keep picking on virtualization admins, but
it was just the first thing that came to mind today. Sorry.
It's our former selves.
Yeah.
But with any of these dashboards, with any time in your career, you're going to have those metrics that are really important to you right now, right? So never let dashboards be the end-all, end-all. They can change. You can change them, and that's the fantastic part. But right now, maybe IOPS are really key to me because I know I have a bottleneck. I've got other applications with issues, but maybe I can't afford to upgrade at the moment, right?
So I need to find out where it's going, who's using it, if it's, if I'm getting double hit in places.
Right.
And the best way to do that is either to put it into a Perfstack and put that into a dashboard, or if you're feeling a little froggy and want to jump, build a dashboard, maybe like two big columns, like storage array 1 and storage array 2, and put the stuff underneath those.
Right.
There's a number of different ways, and it's really, as much as we've joked in the past everywhere, this is really going to be more salt to taste than anything else we can give, because we give you such flexibility.
Yes. I mean, there have been a number of calls when I'll get customers that say, I want my own dashboards. And I say, cool, what do you want? Modern dashboard.
Yes. I'll take 5, please.
Right. What do you want on that dashboard? And having that place to start is really going to be, the key thing. But once you have, especially those top of mind issues that you want to put on there, you can do that. Yeah. So, I mean, I built a dashboard yesterday for something that's current event for me.
Yes.
Won't go into that.
And he shared it, and it's great.
So be looking over that one on THWACK later.
But that one actually uses this kind of methodology where you make API polar calls. So
yeah, exactly. So I made API polar calls, and then I put it into a Perfstack, and then I placed it on a dashboard. So, and that can be done pretty easily. So
a couple of quick steps, and you're done, as long as you know what you're looking for.
Yes.
That's the conversation you need to have.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been absolutely quiet. Now, I don't know whether that's because the chat has been incredibly active and everyone's already getting their questions answered by our chat moderators. So thank you, chat moderators. We know we've both been on the side there. We know that sometimes it can be incredibly, incredibly daunting with the number of questions coming in. All right, well, I think we're good to close. A couple quick things. There's going to be a survey after this. Survey is going to award some THWACK points. And if you like the livecast sessions, the way we're doing these, please let us know in that survey, because we need to know what you want. And also give us topics. Do you need one exclusively on modern dashboards? Do you need one on maybe what you need to pull in for your storage arrays to prep for your next version, or hey, new things are coming out? Or do you just need a deep dive on something else? Let us know. That's why we're here. So for this THWACK Livecast, I'm Kevin Sparenberg.
And I'm Matt Quick.
And thanks for joining.
Thanks.